Good morning. My name is Mr. Morse, and I am recording this meeting for today's lesson on focused note-taking. I'm now going to be sharing my screen. So what you will see is an overview of today's lesson regarding focused note-taking. So we're going to start today by talking about focused note-taking. Focused note-taking is 5 steps to success. And to the purpose of today's lesson is to demonstrate your understanding of the focused note-taking process. So as we continue to go along, you should be able to see on your screen the objective for today's lesson. Today's objective is students will be able to demonstrate an understanding of the focused note-taking process. Our essential question for today is, how do focused notes help me be more successful? So let's continue on as we are going through this very quickly. The focused note-taking process is normally a 5-step process: taking notes, processing notes, connecting thinking, summarizing and reflecting on learning, and applying learning. So normally we would do a warm-up in this situation, but because we are presenting a lot of information to you, I'm going to jump right into the session and cover the 5 different phases of note-taking, and we will conclude our lesson today with an exit ticket. So what are some of the guiding principles behind focused note-taking? Focused note-taking must be taught. It is a process. It has to be done step by step in order for it to be completely successful. So today, I am explicitly teaching you the note-taking process. For learning to occur most effectively, learners must revisit their notes in multiple ways. Everybody learns different, so there are multiple ways for you to learn and revisit your notes. We will go over these throughout the course of today's lesson, but it's important to revisit your notes. And every phase involves inquiry. It means inquiring, constantly asking questions of themselves, the notes, and the content. So, taking notes is phase 1. This is not a revisit of your notes. You establish a purpose and objective for note-taking. You write an essential question to guide your note-taking, and then you determine the best format for your notes. If it's a math class, your notes might be used in a graphing situation. If it's a social studies class, perhaps it's just regular Cornell notes. If it's a science class, perhaps you want to use a diagram. Every student enjoys taking notes differently, so it's important to understand the best format for you. You write your notes based on your source, and then you paraphrase and arrange the information thoughtfully. A lot of students want to write everything down that the teacher says. This is not imperative, and it is not necessarily the measure for the most success. What you want to do is paraphrase so that you can understand as best as possible. So, there are multiple types of formats for taking notes: 2-column notes, 3-column notes, mind maps, graphic organizers, interactive notebooks, and my personal favorite, Cornell notes. Processing notes. When you're going back, your first revisit of your notes is your processing. It goes back and involves thinking about the notes, and it should be done within 24 hours of taking notes. Irving Ebbinghaus, who was a professor at Cornell, has discovered that students lose almost 60% of the information they retained or they got at the beginning of each lesson by not revisiting their notes. So revisiting your notes, the first process should be done within 24 hours. This allows for opportunities to collaborate with other students to determine where you may have missed a page of notes or not. It could get messy, but that's okay. And it focuses on clarifying content and organization. Very important. So the next phase, and this are continuing on, you can revise your notes. Every student has a different way to do it. Whatever works best for you is the best way to do it. Some highlight, some underline, some circle, some delete things that they don't believe are important. It's a very good process. It's very important that you understand your process for revising notes. Identify your main idea and supporting details by selecting, sorting, classifying, and organizing. That's why collaboration is important in the processing phase. Phase 3 is connecting your thinking, going beyond the notes, asking questions. What does this question mean? What does this part of the notes lead to? How will it connect to other parts of the notes? Costa's levels of thinking or Bloom's taxonomy are great ways to develop questions regarding the notes that you've taken. It's important to make connections to what you already know, content from the course, your life and the world around you, and your note-taking purpose. You should look back to your notes with an eye for inquiry. Learning makes sense when it's connected to what we already know, what we experienced, and how we can use it. You should ask questions that they really want to find the answers to and truly want to discuss. The next phase is summarizing and reflecting. Think about your notes as a whole. Can you summarize? What have you learned? Answer the essential question. You should always be able to answer the essential question on your notes. Reflect. How will this be useful for you? Consider how the learning helps you meet the note-taking objective. Plan on where to go from here. How will you use your notes from here? Lastly, you're taking all these phases of your notes and applying them for your intended purpose, demonstrating what you've learned or apply it to a new situation. What are some of those new situations, you might ask? Well, it could be a test, an essay, an argument, a writing assignment, an experiment, a letter, a quiz, a documentary. Then they are limitless. But this is a chance for you to take the notes that you've created, interact with them, and use them in a situation to help you demonstrate what you've learned. Let's practice the note-taking process. Again, we're taking notes, processing, connecting thinking, summarizing and reflecting, and applying your learning. So, question number 1, did you write down the note-taking process from slide 1? If not, ask your elbow partner. Supplement the notes that you've already taken, and we'll play this video. For the purpose of today's lesson, I will not be playing the video. Compare your notes with a partner. Did you underline? Did you highlight? Did your partner do something different? Maybe they gathered a piece of information that you didn't, or vice versa. Now would be a great time to collaborate with them and check. Divide your notes into chunks. Take your notes and chunk them and separate them. On the left side, if you're using Cornell notes, chunk the main idea of each section of your notes. Go above and beyond. Use the words or phrases you circled and underlined and write a one-sentence synthesis statement. This will help you retain more information. As a class, think outside the notes by sharing questions and original thinking and writing those in the left-hand column and your text. Can you make connections to what you already know? Can you connect the content from the course or other courses? Can you connect to the world around you? What was your note-taking purpose? Individually, I want you to write a summary reflection at the bottom of your notes. So this is why we had you go through the process first instead of doing a warm-up, because you're interacting right now with your notes. Can you create a summary? What did you learn? Make sure you answer the essential question in your summary. Reflect. How is this going to be useful? How can the note-taking process help you? What are you planning to use it for? Is there a quiz coming up, a test, a writing assignment that will be due, etc.? How can you use these notes to help you interact? All right, now you're using the notes for their intended purpose. Our purpose today was to demonstrate understanding of the note-taking process. We will do this through synetics. Synetics is the process of making unexpected connections, a form of analogous thinking, often used in problem solving, or a form of an analogy. Okay, I want you to explain how the focused note-taking process is like another process. So, create a poster showing how the focused note-taking process is like the process of building a house. Perform a demonstration on how the focused note-taking process is like learning how to properly shoot a jump shot. There are multiple steps for both occurrences. Okay, we are going to close today's lesson with a simple exit ticket. I want you to take out a piece of paper and answer the following questions. How many phases of focused note-taking are there? This is a very simple level 1 process levels of thinking question. Now, question 2 goes to level 2. Which phase is most important in your mind and why? That concludes today's lesson. Thank you for being a part.